Peace and blessings, you beautiful divine beings. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up and showing out. Yes, thank you for breathing this beautiful day. I love it. I love to be here. Love to be breathing that good air, you know? I'm going to invite some people in from my phone. And let's share it here. Invite your friends. Invite your friends. Invite your friends. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Invite your friends. There we go. Let me. Blessings, bro. Thank you for being present. Thank you for being a friend. Hey. Peace and blessings, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Let me know y'all here. Let me know y'all present. Let me know y'all are present. It's such a blessing. Today is so grand. I'm feeling good. Hey, Erica. Peace and blessings. Hey, Shell. Man, let's get the week started. No matter what has happened in the weekend, the previous week, all month, all year, it's time to let that go. All right? It's time to let that go. Let it ride, let it rock. Sit that one out if you need a breather, but come back into self and know that you are exactly where you need to be, right? I wanted to talk a little bit about, I know y'all see this title, Hurt Dogs Gonna Holla, right? And y'all may have heard me speak on this before, but I wanted to speak on this today because I just feel like it's relevant. And Spirit reminds me all the time that sometimes, most of the time, you don't have to say anything to anybody in situations where they are not being upfront or honest, whatever the case is going to be. Sometimes you just got to move accordingly. Let your actions speak for you. Now there's nothing wrong with speaking your truth, right? Like, I encourage you all to speak your truth, live in your truth, and be in that space of, like, unapologetic, right? I want you to be unapologetic about who you are. But sit with your spirit about making certain decisions. Like, there have been people that I have just not addressed because it is not worth my energy to address. And what happens? I move accordingly. I let that person go. I let that situation go. And then what? Then they see that I'm moving different, right? And they're going to start analyzing, why is this person moving different? And if I'm moving different, it's just not in alignment, baby. Sometimes it's not even like that person, anything's wrong with that person. Sometimes it has nothing to do with, who that person is. Sometimes we're just not in alignment, right? And I have to tell people this all the time because I can love you. And I do. I love everybody. But if we're not in alignment, we're not in alignment. I'm not going to share any more space with you and let that be what it is. But in the times, there has been so many times where I have moved accordingly and people show up and they start hollering because they're hurt. And I don't have to say nothing to them. And the people that do me wrong, I don't have to say, sometimes I just don't have to say shit. I just let it rock. Because people are going to tell you who they are. They're going to expose who they are. They're going to say how they feel about it. They're going to make comments. They're going to make posts, and her dogs are going to holler. And there's often, and even looking within ourselves, right? Like, a lot of the times we're like, I'm over it. I don't, I ain't worried about that person, or I ain't speaking on that no more. But then they're constantly speaking on it, right? Like, and I'd be like, They be like, I've healed from it. I've healed from it. And I've done this. I've done this. So y'all know I talk to myself, right? I have done this where I'm like, I'm over it. I'm done with it. I'm not talking about it no more. I'm not dwelling on it. Hurt dog's gonna holler, and that goes for me too, right? If I'm hurt by the situation and I have not dealt with it, if I have not healed from it, I'm going to keep talking about it until it's done. I'm going to keep bringing it up until it's done in my mind, So, like, sometimes we really have to reassess how we're like, look at ourselves, look at what is taking place, observe what is taking place. And that means we have to be honest with ourselves. And we have to ask ourselves, am I open to change? Am I resistant to the healing that needs to take place? Because talking about it all day ain't going to do us no good now. I mean, we can talk about it and hold space for the healing to take place, but there has to be a moment of action. There has to be a moment of transmutation from the hurt. Because if we keep revisiting the hurt, living in the hurt, like letting the hurt narrate our story, that's when it becomes so deeply embedded into the story that there is nothing but hurt there. And you gonna keep hollering. You gonna keep hollering. Like when I was younger, I think about this a lot. Like when I was younger in middle school, elementary, whatever, high school, and they would like bring motivational speakers into spaces, right? Even in college, like we would have motivational speakers. And what is crazy is that they would bring up all of these things that they've been through, right? Ain't nothing wrong with telling your story, right? The testimony is in the story. But they would keep harping on it, like how it's like they're embedding this hurt and this pain so deeply into who they are that it makes up who they are. And I'm like, but what are you beyond the pain? What are you beyond the hurt? And I used to look up to these people like, dang, they've been through all these things, because I had went through all these things, right? I had been through all this hurt, all this trauma, separation with family. I just been through a lot in my life. But I was like, wow, they overcame that, and there is inspiration in that. So by all means, like, I celebrate these people and their stories, but I'm not gonna keep living there. At some point, there has to be a moment of execution. How are we executing our energy? How are we spreading our intention into the space? So I'm not gonna walk up in a space and be like, I've been through this, and this, and I've been hurt this and this, and this and this. I'm gonna say, this is how I'm living my life. I am divine. I am worthy of respect. I am able to transmute and pull out this energy from my body because I know that I am worthy of love and I am worthy of a life of ease, So this is how I do this. And it doesn't mean that we can't like empathize with people or be in the same space as hurt people, because clearly I talk to people, I deal with hurt. I deal with hurt, like anyone else. But I'm not going to live there. I'm not going to make the hurt a part of my story, like so deeply embedded in my story that it dictates who I am. I'm not, like, I don't live a life of ease because I've been through a bunch of shit. Like, no, I live a life of ease because I choose that now. Just like when I went through all that shit, I was choosing chaos in my life during that time. So really, that choice is the action. That's a part of the execution of energy. Where am I allocating my energy at this time in my life? Am I going to keep saying the same narratives? Am I open to change? Am I resistant to change? Am I resistant to discomfort? Because there's discomfort in healing. There's discomfort in healing. So when we are in a space of healing, growth is uncomfortable. And it requires us to recognize our patterns. It requires us to recognize the narratives that we have been speaking over our lives, right? It requires us to look at the actions, the way that we have allocated our energy, the things that we have given power to in our life. Because for a while, I was a victim of sexual abuse, right? And now, like, my power is mine. My power is mine. I've never been a victim in my life. I will never be a victim in my life. My power is mine. Just because I had an experience does not mean that that experience can claim me. So like there becomes a point in our life where we decide that we're not going to keep reliving in a place of pain and trauma, and we're going to grow out of that and decide what we want our story to be. How do you want to read? What's your narrative? What is your narrative? How do you want to communicate with yourself and your life and the universe and God, source, your higher self, whoever you want to talk to, right? How do you want to move in your life? What kind of energy are you attracting in your life? Because I recognize that when I kept talking about the hurt all the time, I was reliving in that so much. And I was so resistant to letting the hurt go, because if I let the hurt go, what does that mean? A lot of us feel like we are not strong without a reason of strength, right? Sometimes we feel like that trauma has vetted us into a place of experience, right? Like if you know something, you can talk about it. Sometimes we feel like we have to hold on and have attachments to it because it is what makes us who we are, right? That's not your identity. The trauma is not your identity. The pain is not your identity. Who are you, divine? Who are you, divine? Are you uncomfortable to be yourself? Are you uncomfortable to be yourself? Are like and I've been in this space, like to where I was like, well, my daddy didn't love me, so that's okay. And I forgive him. And it's not something I need to speak about all the time. Like, yes, I can, like, I can recognize that the experiences that I have experiences with, the things that I have experienced is valuable, but it doesn't make me who I am. I don't choose to be, because when you start holding on to the hurt and you have attachments to it, you're still holding on to a lot of the patterns that come with trauma response and PTSD. So a lot of that energy is still in the body, and it's still attracting chaotic or traumatic situations to your life. So when I say I'm a divine being, I choose to transmute energy that is no longer serving me in my highest good, and I transmute it into everything that is in my favor. I move the energy into my favor always. When I walk into a space, the space is filled with my love because I am love. Everywhere I go is holy. Everywhere I go is a place of worship. Everywhere I go is a place of divine essence and intervention. Why? Because that is me. I'm not defined by this earthly experience. I never will be. So that's a choice. How am I executing that? And I had to get real uncomfortable. I had to get uncomfortable. I had to say, how long am I going to keep talking about this? Do you know how many people heard that story? Like, a lot of people don't even know how I got here. That's because I don't talk about it very often, but that's okay. When the time and place arises and people ask me about it, sure, I'll talk about it. But I don't live there. It was an experience that I value, that I cherish, that I, understand was a part of the divine, like it was a part of the laws of the universe. Like the universe was like it was in reciprocity to my energy at the time. I was chaotic, so I was dealing with chaotic energy, and that's okay. I love that version of me. So I'm never going to be ashamed of what I've experienced. I love me at every stage. And that even the stages of me that have not been, at one point I was shameful for. Like at some point I was upset with myself about those things, but I've made peace with that. So why live there? That's an old address, baby. That's an old address. We don't live there anymore. And that's okay. I've moved on. And but I had to sit there and realize Spirit was like, why you keep living in this? When that time was present, why you keep talking about this? Do you want to keep trauma bonding? That's what Spirit was asking me. Do you want to keep having conversation with people about trauma to trauma bond? Because that's what we were doing. We were trauma bonding. If you just sit here and compare traumas, like, oh, I've been through that too, and wow, like that was crazy. Trauma bonding. Trauma bonding. We can't be sitting here trauma bonding anymore because we create attachments to people who also resonate with our attachment to the trauma. And being uncomfortable with that is not always easy. So I'm not saying just deal with it all at one time and be like, I'm done with it, whatever. Deal with it how you need to. But listen to your spirit most importantly. Sit in meditation and ask yourself, how can I overcome the attachments that I have with my pain? And it's going to get uncomfortable. It's going to get uncomfortable. It's going to not be easy. Ask yourself, in what ways can I release resistance to my shift? In what ways can I release resistance to the change of mentality or the change of emotional attachment that needs to take place in order for me to grow, heal, and be in my divine presence, my divine alignment? Those are the spaces, like the little journal entries that I really recommend getting to that space within yourself. Get into that space within yourself, having that open dialogue. How can I bring ease into this space of discomfort? Because just because any transition is uncomfortable, what can we do? What techniques can we use to bring ease into transition? We can cleanse and protect ourselves. We can ground ourselves and spend more time in nature. We can have more open conversation about what needs to change. We can create boundaries so that it can release the expectation and the burdens of other people expecting us to stay the same, right? And we can also address our own expectations. A lot of this is inner work because anything internally is going to reflect out externally, right? So whatever issues you have externally, look within and then start shifting it internally. Show yourself more grace. Be more patient with yourself. Love on yourself a little bit deeper. Get to the root of that. Get more intimate with yourself. This opens up so much for us to be able to see that trauma bonding, trauma relationships, like if all we do is get together and talk about the things that have hurt us, then we clearly in the wrong space. Are we moving forward, or are we living in the past? Are we present with one another? Like are we right here? Are we inspired? Are we in the presence of muse? That inspiration in one another. When I'm in divine company, I'm inspired to create. I'm not living in the past, and I'm excited to address discomfort because I know and I was just talking to somebody, one of my divine counterparts in this soul family. We was talking about how sometimes I'll play the tongue drum and I'll play sound healing, right? And I'll hate it. It'll be hitting my ears and it's uncomfortable. And my body will start reacting in an uncomfortable way to the healing that I'm receiving, right? And I'll be like, Spirit, I don't even like this. This is a bad song. And they be like, Just listen, put it down now and listen to it later. And I'll be like, okay. Or they'll be like, just put it on repeat. And I'll be like, repeat? I don't even like this song. And they'd be like, put it on repeat. You need that. You're rejecting it because it's uncomfortable because you need that, right? Sometimes we reject what we need because it's just we need it. And like there's things, attachments in us that do not like to be pulled out. Anytime you are about to go through a rebirth, the ego is gonna holler. It's hurt. The ego is hurt. It's gonna holler. When when you're purging parasites out of the body, you're gonna feel more sick because the parasites are trying to keep you down so that they can survive in your body. Anytime I deal with clients and I see them in a place of purging, I know that they're healing, and that healing is uncomfortable. It hurts even. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes I'll be for example, my knee. I'll be healing my knee and I'll feel a sharp pain go through my knee. And I'll be like, ooh, this hurts. And spirit be like, let it burn, let it ache. Let it burn, let it ache. Because that's the attachment's way of trying to hold on to the body. And I'll be like, I release you with love. I release you with love. This energy, I release it with love. It has no other choice but to go, and I'm going to release it with love. I'm going to bring ease into the transition in my life. And sometimes that's just what it is. And sometimes we have to feel and hear and see and experience the hurt dog hollering on its way out. Sometimes that's just what it is. And it's not easy, but we can do it. Journal through it, dance through it, be in gratitude through it. Gratitude is what brought me present. Gratitude is the attitude of wealth and abundance. It resonates in the heart space and brings forth ease into transitions. It sure do, for real. But yeah, that's what I wanted to leave you guys. Oh, I just saw the time. It's 2222. Uh, but I love you guys. The divine loves you. I just wanted to drop that gem on you real quick and have some open dialogue, maybe get some of you guys thinking a little bit deeper about why we have a resistance to change and why we have a resistance to healing. You know, there's a different feeling to when your intuition is telling you don't do something, and then there's a difference when your ego is in a place of fear and it's like rejecting the healing that's taking place. So discernment is important with that. Listen to your body, listen to your spirit, really sit with the things that are taking place within you. And if you don't have an immediate answer, that's okay. Keep listening. Sometimes I wait days, weeks, months for answers sometimes, and that's okay. It's not anything to shame. So I love you guys. The divine loves you. I'm speaking so much love, peace, joy, prosperity into your places of transitioning. And just know that you're exactly where you need to be. You are exactly where you need to be. Peace out.